Okay, so today we're on lesson 10. We're going to use area models and the number line to compare decimal numbers and record comparisons using less than, greater than, or equal to. So starting with number 1, we're going to shade the area models below, decomposing tenths as needed to represent the pairs of decimal numbers. Fill in the blanks with less than, greater than, or equal to compare the decimal numbers. So starting off here with letter A, we see that we have 23 hundredths and 4 tenths. Okay, so again, be very careful of the place value. Okay. So starting off here with 23 hundredths, we know what that means, that we have 2 tenths. So we're going to shade in 2 tenths. Now we have 3 hundredths. So on our next line, we're going to break it up into our hundredths, and then we're going to shade in 3 of them. Okay. Now if we wanted, we could do horizontal lines all the way across. That would work too. Okay, for our second one, we have 4 tenths. So we're actually just going to go ahead and shade in 4 full tenths. Okay. So now we can see by comparing the pictures that 23 hundredths is less than 4 tenths. And the big difference is what's in that tenths place. Okay, we can see that we have 2 tenths here, but we have 4 over here. Letter B, we see we have 6 tenths. So we're going to shade in 6 full sections here. Okay. And then our next one, we have 38 hundredths. So that means we shade in 3 tenths and then our 8 hundredths. Okay, look like that. So again, looking at our tenths place, we have 6 tenths versus only 3 tenths. So 6 tenths would be greater than. Okay, moving on to letter C. This one's a little bit tricky because they both have a 9 in it, but notice that the 9 is in a different place. Ignore the scribble. So our first one here, we have 9 hundredths. Okay, we have 0 tenths. So our first section here, we're going to actually fill in 9 hundredths. Okay, just clean this up a little bit. Okay, so moving on to the next one, we have 9 tenths. Okay, well now this one means we are coloring in 9 full sections. So this is a great problem to really demonstrate the difference and the importance of having that 0 in the tenths place. Okay, this is less than 1/10, whereas this one is almost a full 1. Okay, so 9 hundredths is less than 9 tenths. Now again, same thing here with letter D. We have 70 hundredths, which is also 7 tenths. So we're going to shade in this. Okay. So now again, we have a 7 in the tenths place. Now going over to our next number, we also have a 7 in the tenths place. So we're going to shade in our 7 tenths. Okay. Now we can see that we've actually shaded in the same amount. Okay. That 0 over here in the hundredths place didn't change the value of our number because 70 hundredths is equal to 7 tenths. Okay. Moving on to number 2 in our number line, we're going to locate and label the points for each of the decimal numbers on the number line. We're going to fill in the blanks with less than, greater than, or equal to compare the decimal numbers. So notice our number line here, we're going from 10 to 10 and 3 tenths. Okay. Our large lines are going up by a tenth, which means each of these smaller sections is a hundredth. So now we have 10 and 3 hundredths, okay, which means we're starting at 10 and counting over 3 hundredths. So that point right there is 10 and 3 hundredths. Now our next one is 10 and 3 tenths. So coming over here on our number line, we can see 10 and 3/10. So obviously 10 and 3/100 is much less than 10 and 3/10. Okay, moving on to the next one, we have 12 and 68/100 and 12 and 8/10. So we're going to start over here with 12 and 6/10 and then count up 8/100 to label 12 and 68/100. Okay, and then we can label 12 and 8/10 right there. And we can see that this one also is less than. Okay, so watch your number lines and make sure you're understanding what they're divided up into. Okay, in this case, our large lines are tenths, and the smaller lines are sectioned off into hundredths. So this is like 60/100, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68. Okay. All right, moving on to number 3, we're going to use less than, greater than, or equal to compare. So this time we're taking away the number line and the area model. So first up, we have 3 and 42/100 versus 3 and 75/100. Now they both have a 3 in the ones place, so we go to our next place. So we have a 4 in the tenths and a 7/10. Okay, well, 4 is less than 7. So it doesn't matter what's in the hundredths place because we have our difference in the tenths place. Same thing over here with letter B. They both have a 4 in the ones place, so now we go to the tenths place. Well, 2/10 is greater than 1/10. Okay, so we're just looking at that tenths place. Now letter C, notice how they both have 15/100. But we really don't care about that because our biggest difference here is in the ones place. So 2 is less than 3. So in this case, we have our difference in our ones place. So we don't really need to know what's after that decimal because we can see our difference in the ones place. So now moving over here to letter D, again, the same thing. You start with your largest place. 4 and 6 are in the ones place, and 4 is less than 6. So again, just like letter C, it doesn't really matter what's after that decimal point when we're comparing the numbers because we can see in our ones place there's a difference. Okay, moving on to letter E. Okay, notice that they both have 1/10. They both have 2 ones. Okay, so now we go after the decimal. Well, they both have 7/10. And if you notice, they both have 0/100. So they are equal. Okay, nothing is written after that 7, which means it's a 0. So these are equal. Last one here, we have 1 and 9/10 versus 1 and 21/100. Now again, start with your ones place, 1 and 1. All right, so now we move to the tenths place, 9 and 2. Okay, well, 9 is greater than 2. And we don't need to know what's in the hundredths place after that. Moving on to number 4, you can see that we're going to use, again, less than, greater than, or equal to compare, but this time we need to use pictures as needed to solve. So we have to do a little demonstrating of why we know that that's their answer. Okay, so now we have 23/10, and we have 2 and 3/10. Well, for me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 23/10 as a fraction. Okay. Well, looking at that, I know that that is 2 and 3/10 as a mixed number. And then switching it over to a decimal, we can see that 2 and 3/10 looks like that. So now when we go to compare our numbers, we can see that they're equal. So 23/10 equals 2 and 3/10. Okay, now moving over here to letter B, we have 1 and 4/100 versus 1 and 4/10. Now again, whenever we compare things, we want to make sure that we're comparing like numbers. Okay. Okay. So in this case, 1 and 4/10 is written like this versus 1 and 4/100. Now again, they both have 1, 1, but this has 0/10 and this one has 4/10. And 0 is less than 4. Okay, next one. Notice how we have a decimal and we have a fraction. So it would be a good idea to get them both written the same way. Okay, either both as a decimal or both as a fraction. Okay, for me, I'm going to put them both as a decimal. and 6 and 7/10 look like that. So now when I go to compare, I can see that I have 6 and 6 in the ones. Well, in the 10th place, we have 0 versus a 7. So 0 is less than 7 in our 10th place. Moving on to the next one, 45 hundredths versus 45 tenths. Notice again, one's a decimal, one's a fraction, but they both have 45. One thing you should notice right away, though, this is less than 1, whereas this is much larger than 1. So right away, you should already know the answer. But if we convert this now into a mixed number, here's your 45 tenths is 4 and 5 tenths, which would then look like this. So this one's 4 and a half, whereas this one is less than 1. So 45 hundredths is less than 4 and 5 tenths, or 45 tenths. Okay, moving on. 127 hundredths versus 1 and 72 hundredths. So again, let's make them both as a decimal.
Chelsea Burdick, if you are still in the building, please report to the main office. Chelsea Burdick.
So 127 hundredths, that means we have 1 and 27 hundredths. Flipped into a decimal, you can see it would look like this. Okay, so now we can compare our two decimals. Again, I have a 2 in the 10th place versus a 7 in the 10th place. So 127 hundredths is going to be less than 1 and 72 hundredths. Okay, next one we have 6 tenths versus 66 hundredths. So there's a few different ways we can do this. So if we think about it as a decimal, we have 6 tenths versus 66 hundredths. Okay, so they both have 0 in the ones place. They both have a 6 in the 10th place. So we need to look at the hundredths place. So this one has a 6 in the hundredths place, but notice how nothing is written over here in the hundredths place, okay, which means that there's 0. Okay, because remember 6 tenths equals 60 hundredths. So now we're comparing 0 versus 6. So 6 tenths is less than 66 hundredths. Okay, so thank you for watching today. Go ahead and give the exit ticket a try, and we'll see you in class.